thanks for tuning in today to learn about red clover. This video has taken me a little longer to make than it usually does because there's so much to say about red clover that I was overwhelmed with what information to impart in here. So I want to break it down to two main parts: how red clover helps our soil and how red clover helps our body, and I will try to be brief about each of these. So how red clover helps our soil. It is in the legume family, and that means that it is a nitrogen fixer. So all legume family plants have this amazing partnership with bacteria that grows on the roots to create these root nodules that help the plant take nitrogen from the atmosphere through its above ground parts, bring it into the soil, take that unusable atmospheric nitrogen, unusable to plants, put it into the soil, and then as the plant decomposes, it returns that nitrogen back to the below ground parts of plants into a readily available form of nitrogen. And nitrogen is the number one nutrient that all green things need. Anything that's green, number one nutrient that it needs is nitrogen. So this is an amazing ability of all these legume family plants to take nitrogen that's floating around in our atmosphere and turn it in. So if you dig up any legume family plant, you will find these little root nodules. Please excuse the authentic gardener dirty fingernails, sign of a true gardener there. So you can see these little root nodules, these little bumps on there, and that is what stores the nitrogen. As the plant is either as it dies or as it's pulled up and used, then as the plant decomposes, that nitrogen then is returned to the soil for surrounding plants to use it. So clover is a great plant to have in your garden. By fixing nitrogen into the soil there, you can use it as a cover crop. And we'll skip over what cover crops do for another time, or you can look it up if you want to know more information about that. It's also a great chop and drop plant, meaning as it's growing in your garden, maybe it's somewhere that you don't want it, you can chop it off right at the soil level and then lay it down to act as mulch in your garden. And as it decomposes, it will return nitrogen to that soil in your garden, which all plants really need. It will also act as a weed barrier and to work to keep moisture in the soil, which is really, really important, especially now in times of drought. So that is a quick little lesson on how red clover works to fix your soil. It is also a great plant for wildlife forage as well as for livestock. It is a great bee foraging plant. It's really good for people to just kind of munch on the trail side. It tastes kind of like peas. And then moving on to how it benefits our body, how it helps fix our body. So the herbal lingo term of the main action of red clover is it is an alterative. And that means that it works to alter our bodies to function at the best. And red clover has an affinity for the lymphatic system. And the lymphatic system is what moves everything through our body. It works to remove toxins and assimilate nutrients into our systems. And it is especially important for the lymphatic system to have good support in times of hormonal fluctuation. So this is really good for adolescents, who are going through puberty, as well as men and women as our hormones shift and change, and especially for women during menstrual cycles and leading into and through menopause. So there are a few different ways to get red clover into our bodies so if all those hormonal things aren't your thing, everybody needs work to help flush toxins out of our body and help assimilate nutrients. We all need that as human beings. So one of the very best ways is just a simple red clover tea. This here is a solar infusion. So I filled it half with red clover blossoms and topped it off with water and let it sit out in the sun from the morning until the night. And just to show you the difference in, so this is just regular water here. So you can kind of see that lovely green hue that red clover has imparted into the water there. And it is delicious. I do want to say, with all this information about how it affects our bodies, I am not a doctor. I am not a medical provider. I am a level 1 herbalist who is learning about how plants help our body. So if you are on any kind of pharmaceutical medications or have any underlying health concerns, always check with your doctor before taking any kind of herbal supplements. So that said, red clover infusion, you can strain the blossoms out, or like I would just like to sip it with them in there. It tastes like a summer day. It's just so delicious. A little bit sweet, a little bit earthy, and fantastic. So just drinking this all day long will help flush the toxins from my body, as well as help me assimilate nutrients. And you can just pick red clovers. They grow all over the place. It's incidentally the state flower of Vermont and the national flower of Denmark. It's such a beloved plant. So drinking it in a solar infusion, that's kind of like an iced tea. You can also make a hot tea. Being such a great lymphatic plant, it also works really well as topical massage oil, or any way that you want to rub it onto your body to help your lymphatic system, which goes through your whole body, move along. So we're gonna do a little learn to do this together to make a red clover infused oil that you can use as a massage oil. You can also use it any way that you use olive oil. So what we are going to do, I've got a jar. I've got my dried red clover blossoms here. Anytime that you're doing an oil infusion, the drier your plant material can be, the better to prevent your oil from going rancid. So these are dried red clover blossoms I picked about a week ago and just dried them in this basket. So I'm going to fill this about a quarter to half full with red clover blossoms. Different herbalists have different thoughts on how to best store your herbal oil infusions. I was taught this method. I'm using organic olive oil here. And so I want to make sure that as little air possible to be in here, so that it is only oil and plant materials. And I will show you how to do that. So I'm going to pour freely till I'm pretty close to the top. I want to get all the air bubbles out of here. So I have a chopstick. I'm just going to poke and slowly move it around. I don't want to jostle it around and add more air to there. So I'm just going to poke and slide around. And I can see little air bubbles still rising to the surface here. Looks like little, you can see those little bloop, bloop. And now I'm going to pour much slower because I don't want to add any more air bubbles. I'm going to really, really get it all the way up there. And it's nice if you have a mason jar with the 2-part lids. And then what I like to do is slide this on there. I'm still seeing a few air bubbles come up. And pressing any air out. It's good to do this outside, as you'll get a little oil flowing over the top. Put my ring on. And then I'm going to check for air bubbles by turning this upside down. You can see some small air bubbles coming to the surface. We'll let those go. And you want to look to make sure you don't have something like a 1/8 of an inch to 1/4 inch of air bubble in there. If you do, oh, like right here, can you see that? The air bubbles. So I want to get a little more oil in there. And this can be a little bit tedious and messy, but worth it to have a very good product. So again, taking my lid, setting it on and pushing down and slowly sliding it over, letting any air that wants to escape. Oh. It's looking good. I'm feeling good about this. So some people say to leave it in a dark cupboard. Some people just say to put it out in the sun and use a solar infusion. I love harnessing the energy of the sun in any way that I possibly can. Before I forget, I want to remind you not to forget. Do not forget to label your jar. The date that you made it, what is in it, what kind of olive oil you used in there. Some people like to add any kind of solar things happening, like maybe say that this was the day after the summer solstice. Anything that you want to add on there. And then this will sit and steep for 30 to 45 days. Then you will strain the blossoms out and have amazing red clover infused olive oil. Hope you enjoy it.